Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Mainstream Indie Music Podcast. I'm so happy to have all 194 subscribers of you here. And of course, all of you guests that are listening in to this newest episode, I welcome you as well. I hope you're having a fantastic week. And if you are not, hang in there. Feel free to vent anytime in the comments. This week is a very interesting character. Now, from time to time, I take suggestions, of course, for people, artists, bands, songs from the indie genre to talk about. And this one was recommended very early on. And I paused on reviewing him for a little while because I wanted to make sure I collected the right amount of data on him and to get his story right. If anything, it was done out of respect for him. I didn't want to rush the story, and I just didn't feel like the time was right yet. But after, doing enough reading, enough research on him, I just felt like it was time. Now, I am talking about the artist's name is Kishi Bashi. Now, his name is, I hope I'm saying this right, Kaoru Ishibashi. So the first name, I'm a little bit not sure if I said his first name right, but it's funny because he pretty much just combined his first and last name to get his stage name. I'm going to be saying his stage name for the remainder of the episode. But Kishi Bashi is who I am talking about. He is a Japanese American. He grew up in Athens, Georgia. And both of his parents were professors. So, he came from a very educated background. And when he went to college, he went to Cornell University College of Engineering. So it really just kind of sounded like he had his life carved out for him, right? His parents probably gave him a direction, an area to go in life, and it made sense to him, But even when he was at Cornell, he co-founded a band. You could tell his mind might have been trying to make it work there, but his heart was definitely not in it. He definitely wanted to be a musician. He felt that he could succeed in being a musician. And actually, not that long afterwards, he flunked out of Cornell. Things there at the college were not going right for him, and he wanted to become a violinist. So that's what he did. He became a violinist. He went to another college, Berklee College of Music, to study film scoring, which later on in the episode, that is going to be very key to his career. So he continued to start up bands, try to see if he could catch something. He started with a few projects, really, and a couple of them were done around the same time. He started in around 2003 in a New York band. They kind of did electronic rock, and the band was called Jupiter One. They were very big on synth, sound wave kind of a sound, and they went for about 10 years, 2003 to 2013. But like many like many indie bands, they struggle to kind of support themselves. The life of any indie artist is not easy because, you purposely avoid the big labels. And so a lot of the work you have to do yourself. And while you are getting funded for it, sometimes it just doesn't work out that great for you financially. And so after, I would say towards the end of that tenure with Jupiter One, he started to make his own music, and he also started to open up for and become one of the founding members, because this is kind of a supergroup, this next group, of the band of Montreal. Um, there's a lot of psychedelic, pop, psychedelic rock that is part of Montreal. They're really hard to describe because they had, close to 20 to 30 major members of that group, not even counting kind of backing members as well. And Kishi Bashi was one of them. And so he joined them as part of their 2012 tour. So if we're having a timeline, Jupiter 1 is kind of starting to wind down and end. And of Montreal, him supporting them, that is just starting to begin. And he's starting to make his own music, He also started to feature for other artists as well, like Regina Spektor and Sondre Lerche. So even him himself, things are really started to come together. And so he finally was deciding, you know what, I want to release my own music. So he released 151A, his debut album in 2012. And that's what he did. His musical style, though, is really what I want to talk about. Because pretty much, as regards his history, that's pretty much where it ends. You know what I mean? Like, of course, he still keeps going. He's still releasing music to this day. But it's more so his musical style that I wanted to talk about, and the style that is done on his album. So in all of his albums, he does something very similar to another indie artist that I covered on here, Yonzi from the band Cigar Rose. However, he does not make up his language. But what he does do is he fully embraces his Japanese upbringing and culture, of course, and he sings in both Japanese and English, sometimes on the same track. So he does that. It's amazing. You definitely have to check it out. And I think what is even more noteworthy of him, or what people really get into him by, is his violin playing and the layering of his music that really drives people in. His way of recording his violin playing is very, very different, where it's very, very close. He keeps the microphone very, very, close distance from his violin, because he wants the violin not to be so much a background noise. He wants it to almost be as centered as his singing is on all the tracks. So you have his singing, you have the main violin playing, and then what he does, especially during his live performances, is he will layer and loop a lot of his string playing and a lot of his synth over and over until it just kind of builds and builds and builds on top of each other. And so then you get the complete picture once he kind of builds that sound just over and over again. He has worked with so many different producers. He has, like I said, he has loop violin music and vocals. He builds his melodies and songs with kind of other different arrangements as well. The recording setup that he uses is a big part of that as well. And it's just the dynamic nature of his recording. It really, really is. Looping is so big at what he does. And really, if you're going to get into Kishi Bashi, you have to watch him live. You got to see him when he's playing his violin live. He's looping his vocals. He's beatboxing into the microphone as well. You really have to listen to it. And if you're going to check him out, definitely listen to his debut album. And that's what I got for Kishi Bashi. Please check them out if you haven't before, and I will see you all later.